Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to make a game, web game actually, not an application. You can see, let's start this one. Choose the hard mode. Okay, this is so hard to hack this mode. Even though this is innocent, I'm trying to best my to hit this one. Okay, only 5. I can retry. Let's try if I can score better. But the next time I scored less. Okay, I can control uh, difficulty and time 30 seconds to 60 seconds, or I can increase if I want to. And difficulty level is easy, medium, or hard. I can choose whichever I want, then start the game, and I can hack the mall here. So I actually stopped the styling in the middle. I got lazy, but you can style on your own if you want to style it a little bit more, or you can just stay with me and just copy this styling. Okay, no more talking. Let's start the project. First, I opened my terminal and paste this uh, Nuxt installing process. So I'll name it Akamol. Okay, now it will take a little bit of time. When it's done, I'll be with you again. You can choose whichever package manager you want. I'm going to use Yarn, or if you want npm or pnpm, you can choose that. Everything is okay. Also, I'm going to use Tailwind CSS for this project and Pinia store. So I'll show the process of installing it uh, first, then I'll move on to the coding part. Uh, let's go to inside of the folder. I'll just open it in the code editor and continue to installing Tailwind and Pinia store. This is the Pinia Tailwind CSS official website. You can follow up this all the steps. Now let's go to the nuxt.config.ts, and here I'll have to paste this Tailwind code. Then I'll have to create an assets folder or CSS and main.css file. Inside of that, I need to paste this codes. Okay, assets slash CSS slash main.css, and now paste. Okay. Next, CSS in the nuxt.config.ts. Okay, that's all for Tailwind CSS. Now I'm going to install Pinia. I can actually, instead of processing this whole thing from here, from a Pinia official documentation, I can do that from directly our project. I'll show you that first. So here, uh, I'm cleaning the terminal and uh, yarn dev or npm dev, whichever you prefer. This is the port where my project is open. So let's open this. I think I missed something in the Tailwind CSS. Okay, I need to add this in the project. Where is tailwind.config? Your content will have to be replaced by this. Okay, now it's okay. It's working. This is the page that I get from Nuxt. Now I can go to your modules and search for Pinia from here. Yeah, Okay, here it is. I can install it from here, but Pinia sometimes it will give a little bit problem. It does not work sometimes, so I'm going to use actually from the Pinia website. So let's add the Pinia code, cancel, and let's paste the Pinia. Wait a little bit to Pinia to install, and then we're going to run yarn dev again. Next, I need to use modules in my nuxt.config.ts file. Okay, now run the code from our terminal. If your Pinia code is not working, you can use npm I force Pinia. If your Pinia is not working or showing some error, you can use this code. Now my Pinia code here is working fine, so I'm just going to run the yarn dev to start our uh, server. First, let's create a pages slash index.view main homepage. This is our homepage that's we're going to use. So let's name it home. For now, this is fine. Then after view here, I'm going to change it to Nuxt page. Okay. Okay. So now let's start editing this home page. First, I have a div which has class of flex, white full, margin auto, justify center, BG slate 500, item center, minimum height, screen. You can get this if this is a tailored CSS classes which are for styling elements. Next, I have another div which has class white 64, BG slate 600, rounded MD, PX6. PX is padding on left and right, add a EY8 shadow LG text slate 50 text center. Next, button class BG green 600 white full padding Y2 rounded MD Nuxt link to game start Nuxt link button. So I'm going to actually create another page named game where I will direct this link, but now I'm just going to start this index page. Later I'll move on to that page and we will continue to start building the game. Next, deep plus difficulty where I have a B tag difficulty only. Next, another div where I'll have button class shadow md text slate 300 tx2 py1 mx1 my2 hover vg slate 700, and at the rate at I'm going to change the difficulty of this uh, game to easy, medium, or hard, whichever will be. I can actually use radio button for this, but I'll use radio button for the time one, and I'll actually show different options. I can create actually two functions for this one where I can use same function for different cases. And here is the uh, latter function where I have uh, same function change difficulty to, I'm going to just pass here medium instead of easy, and here I'm instead of easy or medium I'm going to send hard. So when this uh, value will be hard, medium, or easy, based on this value I'm going to change the difficulty level. So rest of the classes and styling are the same, only I'm just going to change the writing inside of this button. This time I'm going to create div for the time where I'll have a I use here a b tag. Next, inside this div, I have a span class shadow md text slate 300 px2 py1 mx1 my2 hover bg slate 700 input type radio. See, here I used button, but in this timer I am using radio type. You can use either one of these. Name time ID 10 seconds, value for 10,000. This is microseconds, so 10,000 will be 10 seconds. Checked first. This one will be the default one. Rest of them we can choose. V model we are going to use store time, which we'll create in the latter part. So store time is okay. Actually, I can let it be for now. Later at this part. Then I repeated the process and I have now another radio button where I have 30 seconds, value is 30,000 and 60 seconds for the value I change according to that. And rest of these classes and tags are the same. Now we need to add this item to the is corresponding titles or the code that I will need to use it. So for that I'm just going to first create and store Pinia store. You remember we installed Pinia when installing the whole Nuxt project. So first I'm going to create a Pinia store, then I'm going to add vmodel or change this state in the I'll set the state in the Pinia store. So stores not dot slash shop dot js. First import define store from Pinia and later I am going to create this store where I am exporting use shop store define store that I got from importing define store which name is shop, and I'm going to return. There is actually two way to create Pinia store. So this is the first one where latest composition API is used. So I'll use this process. I think this is much more efficient and easy to understand. So first I'm creating two variable where which first one is mode. So obviously default one going to be easy and timer is for 10 seconds. If you want minimum time to be 1 minute, you can just increase 10 and it will be 1 minute. Now for the difficulty, I'll have this minimum random time 1000 and max random time 5000, which you'll actually you don't need to understand this one now. We'll need this one later when we create how frequently the mole will rise from the hole. So there we'll use this timer. We can set it to different time to control the timing. Okay, now we are just passing it to the function here. We are just sending it so that we can use it inside of our components, difficulty, mode, and time, these three, and then save. This is all the work we need to do in our shop. The work for the shop is over. Now we can go back to the index and set. We can use vmodel or function to change our shop value from our components or pages. So for that, if we want to use our shop inside of our components or our pages, we need to import the shop first, then call it. Here I'm first importing the use shop store, which we used the name, then calling it as store. Now this is done actually. We can use it as a store dot and we can get whatever we want from this shop. Okay, so first we're going to call this create this function change difficulty which we created using uh, buttons. So let's create the function. So first we have the function change difficulty. We are getting a value which we are going to state store dot mode is equal to the value that we are getting, either easy, medium, or hard, whatever we are getting. And rest is simple if else statement. You can see here if difficulty or the value is easy, then we are going to set the store dot difficult dot minimum random time to 1 seconds and max random time to 3 seconds or 500 milliseconds or 1500 hard. In case the difficulty is hard, then we are going to set it to 200 or 1000. Actually, I think we have made an error here where we are using 1 seconds and 3 seconds. In our shop, we used 5. Yep, we need to update it so that it does not get complicated between components and the shops. So yeah, this is it. Now we are going to also need to V model with our radio buttons. This is the first variable button. We model where we have store.time variable. We're going to be model with that, and I'm just going to do the same for these both input. Okay, so this page is done. Now we can go and create the next and most important page of our the whole project, the game page. Okay, our game.view setup. Now, first I get a div where which has a color of big slate, PG slate 500 minimum H screen text white. I remember something. We did not actually bring the images that we need for this project in our public folder. So first I'm going to paste the images that we have. Okay, this tab icon. So we have three images. Push. This is a big push. And we have mole. This one is colorless. When we click on the when we hit, we'll get previous one, and when we do not, we'll get this one. You can use alternative, or if you have different images, you can use those. But I'll give these images in my link, so you can use these also. Now let's go back to our coding. First, I'm going to create the game part, later the control part, which you can later change a little bit on your own. We are getting 6 pushes. You can use 9, 8, or whatever actually you want, or how many times, how complicated you want to use. That's up to you. I'm just going to use 6. So I'm just there will be 6 bushes where from where the mole will be come out. Now I'm going to do some raw CSS. So here game white 600 pixel, height 400 pixel, display blacks crop, and margin 0 auto. Then whole class will have flex 1 0 33.33 percentage overflow hidden position relative all after display inline block background URL bush.svg bottom center no repeat background size cover content blank white 100% height 100 pixel position absolute z index to bottom minus 30 pixel. This is for the whole or bushes actually whatever you prefer the name you here we use the whole, so I'm using the whole class here. Then I have for mole background bottom center no repeat background size 100% position absolute of 100% height 150 pixel left 5% transition all 0.4 second. Now we are going to actually use another class This one will be when actually the mole will rise up. So dot hole dot up dot mole. So for this up, we are going to use here. Now, if you look how is our game is looking currently, then first this is how our home page is looking. Now, if we click on start, you can already see some bushes and the mole is already always up. We are going to have to create a function where this will be randomized. So let's get back to the coding. So we need to start the functioning set, and we are going to first import our shop. Then I'm creating two variables. One is const start where its default position is false. Then const full number which will be adding adjust according to this one. So this is for now 0. We're going to change it with a function. First, in our start game function, we are going to start make the value of this false to true. Then we are going to get the store time or the time 10 seconds, 30 seconds, or 40 600 seconds, whichever we want. Actually, the time limit. We're going to just take it in a late variable. Then we're going to create another function which is peep, or I mean, this function will be for uh, continuously to repeat and keep the mole to rise up from the bushes. So this function will continue as for a long time until actually the game time is over. So for that we are going to use a set timeout. Now we have created a set timeout which is uh, after the time is over, which is 30 seconds, 10 seconds, or 60 seconds, the value will become false. Our whole value will return to 0 and alert will show the result. Also, I'm going to set timeout, take it in a variable so that we can control it from outside of this function. In order to do that, first I'm creating a start timeout which will be our timeout or the controller time limit. So start timeout dot value is equal to set timeout, and all of them, all the rest of them is same. Let me do something. I'll create a store variable. So when the game starts, the variable, the score result will, so that it goes back to 0 every time the game resets or it starts from the beginning. Okay, and we can also actually show the result in our. Oh, my copilot is already recommending me. We can use this score dot value in our alert. Now we need to create this keep function that we called earlier. First, you need to think what do we need. We need a random time which will change automatically between let's say if we are using easy mode, then between 1 seconds to 3 seconds we want a continuously random changing time which your value will change. So for that we are going to create a random time function which will get from which will where will pass this random time, max time and minimum time from our store, and then we'll use it to get random time limits which we can use later uh, in our game where we will have random time, so that in different time and different limit the mole will be up there. So this is our random time where we are getting minimum and max time limit. Here we can use math.round function. This one is JavaScript default, and here I can take maths.random where we can um, multiply max minus minimum plus minimum time. So we will get always a random time. Now actually instead of that, if we come here and want what do we want next, we want to choose which hole the mole will come up from. We already have how long the mole will stay up in a random time we are getting it. If we make it hard, the mole will stay at around 500 microseconds or 200 microseconds or 700 microseconds, whichever the random time gets. Now we want a another random function where we'll get a random number 1 to 6 or 1 to 9, 0 to 9, whichever we get we want. If we want to make actually instead of here 6, if you use 9, 12, we can use here pass those number and get random numbers between them. Defaultly our whole value is 0, right? But we want to change it. For that we are going to need to create another function which is random whole, which number of whole will the mole will come up from. So the whole value we are getting from 0, we are going to change it according to the function that we get random number. Here this one is almost similar to the random time function, where we instead of two values you're getting one wholes, which is 6, and then the random number of id of the whole that the mole will come up of this late id you're getting it. But instead of finishing it here, we don't want the same value to come up again and again and again. That will be kind of a boring. We want, if the previous item is something already came up, let's say number 1 already came up, then we want a new number, right? So for that purpose we are going to need to create a variable which will be the last whole variable, which will say it so that every time a new pole comes up whenever the mole goes down. So we have another variable named last whole. Then we are going to while id is equal to last whole dot value, if the last whole value and the id, the random number we get the same, then we want to repeat this process one more time, and then we're going to change. If we get different number instead of this id, we are going to set the last whole dot value to that id, and finally we are going to send it back the id number that we get. Now let's go back to our peep function, and we are going to, if the start dot value is not false, if you remember correctly, when the time is over, only the start dot value will become false, else it will continue to be true. So if the start dot value is true, then this peep function will continue to repeat until change time. So the random amount of time that we get, we'll get this from here. Now I want to actually also put this set timeout in a variable so that later some we can control it outside from this peep function. For that, here, let's create another variable named peep timeout, and here peep timeout dot value. Um, so this now I want we already got the whole dot value, right? So I want to add it in here so that the if the number of value is correct, then only then the uh, mole will show up. Okay, so if the index plus 1, or actually I can use, instead of index I can use bushes. After all, this is only a number, but whatever. If the index plus 1 is equal to whole value, this value is equal, then the class up will be added. If not, then up will not be added. So if you remember, the up function will actually is the class which bring out the mole outside of the bush. So I'll remove the up from here. Now if we set this whole value to, let's say, 1, you see only we get 1, and if instead of 1, 3, yep, number 3. So only those items, those holes are getting, the mole is getting called. So we need to make it dynamic, right? So whenever the page reloads, or the page we come from home page to this game page, we want to add start the game immediately. That is why on mounted, I'm going to call the start game function. So the game will start instantly we come to this page. Oh, and we need to set the whole value to 0. Okay, if we now check, okay, let's refresh. Yep, okay, it's randomly coming from different holes. So we need to, uh, when the when you click on the mole, we want to have something, right? So we're going to need to create another function which will be executed when we click on or we hit on the mole. Okay, first v show is equal to only when the start value is true, we are going to show the mole. Only then, when the game is over, start value becomes false. We don't want to actually show this. If somehow some kind of uh, error comes up, I'm not sure, but if some error comes up, then we don't want to show it then still. So for that, when the game continues, only then the value will be true. Start value will show image, else it will not. And when click on the image, then we want to create this function bonk, which will actually start counting the score of how many hit we get. Okay, first we created the function called bonk, which we are getting the event. This one is so that hack becomes hard. Actually, I'm not going to say impossible, but it will become quite hard. Then we will increase the score value, but I'll do something with another variable, which will be when clicked on the when we hit the mole, we want to change the color of the mole, right? We don't want to keep it same, so that will be hard to understand if we actually manage to hit it or not. So for that, const mole bonked reference false initially. So here we're going to set it to the true, false from true. Let's go back to the source. Here we're going to change the source when molvac bonked, or if it's false actually, we're going to use the colorful one. So as you can see, if mol bonked value is false, then colorful one, and if true, then uh, the one with which do not have color actually, black and white one. If we now go to our page and check if it's actually working, changing the mole, then let's come out mole. Yep, you see color already changed, but it is continuously now true. So we need to make it take time out or do something so that it will go back to being the mole previously we wanted, we used. Here I'm going to use a set timeout. Okay, set timeout mole value is equal to false in 200 microseconds. So what we can actually also do, if when we click on the mole, we want the mole go back and start to come rise up from a new hole, right? We don't want to hit the same mole again and again and again. That will be kind of a boring. So for that, so first clear timeout. We need to clear out that pip timeout. You remember we used a variable to get the set timeout of this pip timeout value. So we're going to clear out the set timeout value that we have. Even if we already have a little bit of time left there, we do not want to wait. We're just going to clear it. Okay, so clear timeout, pip timeout dot value. We're going to make it null, and then we need to call that pip function again, so that new timer and new hole from where the mole will rise. So here we're going to start a new pip. Okay, I'll keep this so you can understand it. Now if we go back to our game and see how does it looks like. Okay, game over, whatever. Refresh. See, the color changes, and whenever I click on, the mole goes right down. See, I'm not clicking, it keeps stay there for a little bit longer. Okay, so our game is already working. Okay, now I need actually let's do something. We need to keep timeout value to clear fast because we don't want if for some reason the page reloads and uh, actually not reload, but let's say we are going to use a retry function and we don't want the pip to uh, previous pip and current pip to overlap with one another function. So we're going to first clear this pip timeout value when we enter the function. Then we're going to create new pip timeout value. Okay, so then that value will be the one where the mole will rise. So this is for clear code, clear timeout, pip timeout. So we don't have to face any bug. Okay, game is working fine. Now we need control panels from where we can see our scores. We can retry or we can go back to the home page or time left. Okay, so we're going to create different tags. We are going to use these tags to create a hidden section actually where we'll show these items. 2D where one has class of white full height 16 shadow MD flex justify evenly item center. You can style it on your own. I got lazy on this part, so you can actually make it a little bit better and do something more unique, better design. Okay, I am not going to recommend actually to follow up the whole style because I got lazy in the middle of the process of building this one. Then we have a button which has a class of shadow MD text slate 100 px2 py1 mx1 my2 hover bg slate 700 next link. This one is to go back to home. Okay, now I have another div for class score. I'm going to show you score flags item center justify evenly flags 1. First, I'm going to let's try to make the font a little bit bigger and remove this one so you can see better. Pan button at the click we're going to restart the game, so we need to create a function which is restart game. You can actually first do this one, then we're going to move on to the styling different part. This one is actually quite important, so uh, focus this one. You might be thinking, why don't we just actually instead of creating a new function we don't use the start game. But there will be actually a problem which will lead to the game time to be overlapped. So, and this set timeout, if some set timeout is running behind, that will create a new problem. So we'll have to actually clear this all of these timeout functions we have. First keep timeout and then clear timeout. I'm going to start timeout. This two value I'm going to clear out. Then I'm going to set start value to the false, whole value to 0, mol bank dot value to the false. So I'm just going to reset everything. Then after 100 milliseconds, I'm going to reset the whole process and run this. After 100 millisecond, I am running this start game function. So this time I don't get any overlap with one another set timeout or if some timeout actually running in the background. When I tried to actually directly use the start game, I saw I was facing some bugs. It was a kind of a hacky situation. So first I clear out everything, reset the whole process. Then when I use the set timeout to start game, this in 100 seconds later, after clearing out everything, then I got the perfect response. So I think this is this have to something to do with being the code based reading from one thread system. JavaScript is a one thread language, so this has something to do with that. Okay, now let's go back to our code, and here we are doing different, we are showing our different score and part of the time that we have left. Then our score, how many score did we manage to get? I'm going to show it here. Remaining time, we need to use a component for this one. We are going to create the component a little bit later. So first, continue with our styling span store.mode. In our store we already have stated easy we have a mode set it up where which we get from index. If you go back to index, you can see we set our store.mode to difficulty, which we got from here to yep, where yep, here, easy, medium or hard. So we get it from here and we can show it here which mode we are playing right now. Okay, now remaining time. So when we are playing, we want to actually see how long how long we can actually play, and uh, what time is remained. Okay, right? So for that we need to create a stopwatch. So I'm going to now create a stopwatch in a component folder. I don't have component folder. Okay, now let's create a component folder where we're going to create another is create a stopwatch which we will bring here. Okay, what was that? Now we want to actually know how long this stopwatch will need to run. So for that we need to get something from our game page, which will be a props. So we're going to send a first call this component here and send some props of our time. I hope you know the use of props. So I'm sending as a time store.time, which we have 10 seconds, 30 seconds, 60 seconds reset time. As reset time, when our start value is true, only then we'll want to reset the whole time. We don't want even when our actually when we reset the try to reset the reset. What is this reset actually? Here when we restart our game, we don't want the previous time to continue, right? We want to create a new time stopwatch. So for that purpose, when our start value is true only, then we are going to create new stopwatch time value. Okay, I'm just going to go here and call out these props. I think you'll understand better if you see it in practical. First, we are calling the props that we got from our game page, where we have time, which is number required true, reset time, type boolean. This one is also required true, which it will have only true or false value. Okay, then we'll get this inside of two wraps so that we get this will be dynamic. Okay, now I'm going to first create a timer function, then get the current time date dot now the last const is equal const then is equal to now plus time dot value. So now we're going to use a set interval, but before that, like previously, we are going to use a variable so that we can control the set interval or set timeout. This type of function we can control this. That is why we're going to first set a variable. So this is countdown. This reference is null. Now we're going to set the set interval. So here in every seconds, 1000 microsecond, which is 1 second, in every seconds, our value will update. We'll have a new second, right? So let's get that second. We're going to do something. We're not only just going to make it to zero. we're going to make it a time dot value divided by 1000. So if we have, let's say, 10,000, if we divide it by 1000, we'll get 10 seconds, right? So we can actually use this seconds left to show here. Okay, seconds left. Now if we go back to our page, we can actually see 10 seconds. But let's continue our work first, then we'll see it at a time. Okay, then seconds left dot value is equal to math dot round. We're going to round up the whole if so that we don't have any float number. 10 minus date dot now, then divided by 1000 and minus 1. Okay, so minus 1 is optional. You can use this one, but this part, rest of this part is actually important. This will be updated per second. And when our seconds left dot value already is less than 0, then we don't want to continue this function, this interval to continue to run, right? Or otherwise it will continue to run infinitely. You already know that interval does not stop until you stop it, right? So first you're going to clear interval this seconds left dot value. You see, this is why we already used this variable. If we did not use this variable, it will be hard to stop the interval. So then countdown dot value, we cleared it. Second left dot value will become 0, and we are going to return the function. We don't want to continue this function anymore. We want to call it instantly. So I'm going to use onMounted here. Now, if you remember, we already also uh, send another prop which is reset time, right? So we want to watch this reset time. If this call is true or false, if this is true, then we want to only then start this timer function. Otherwise, we do not want to call this timer function. We want to reset it. So for that, first we are going to create watch, where we are going to watch reset time dot value. If then new value or old value, if the value is actually true, then we will set seconds left time dot value to the time value we get uh, from here, time value actually, which we will later converted to refs. So we are going to send it to the millisecond. We're going to send actually convert it to seconds by dividing it to thousands. Then we are going to use clear interval, the countdown value, and we are only when the new value is true. First, you're actually resetting the whole process. If you look closely, you can see we're resetting the whole process. Then we are only after that we're function calling the function. Let's say when the page is mounted, the timer is already gets called, but we press the reset button again. So if you do not clear the previous countdown value, then the previous countdown value will continue. Only after the previous countdown value is finished, then this function will overlap with this one. So that's a complicated problem. We do not want that. That is why we're going to first reset the seconds left value and then also reset the interval. Then we're going to call the timer function. Okay, now let's see how our project is looking currently now. I need to pause, reset, reloading the page. You can see our time is already showing here. Time 3, 2, 1, and 0. Okay, my score is 2, and we don't see any mole currently. Now if we click on retry, we can start from the beginning. I think there's some problem here. Time is showing from 9, I guess. Let me try one more. No, no, no. Yeah, actually it's showing from 9. I think because of the that minus 1, that's creating the problem. I need to stop that. But but that's not actually problem. We already can see the easy mode. We already can see our score. We can reset, retry. We can go back to home. We can set different time. Let's say 30 seconds and set it to medium. No, actually, let's set it to hard. Actually, did it get selected? How do we know this? Okay, let's go back to the code and do something so that we can see. Go to the index here. Just I can just use the extro mode here, and if we go back to our game, you can see, yeah, start, hard, medium, easy. Oh, yeah, no, this is still not looking much good, but let it be, right? And 60 seconds, 30 seconds, let's go with 30 seconds and set it to hard. Okay, as you can see, I'm getting 30 seconds correctly, and the mode is hard. Actually, this is way too hard. I'm not even managed to hit one time still. Yeah, what the hell? How do we? Oh, I did. I did. Okay, I managed to hit once. Right. Ah, this sucks. Okay. Okay. Our game is working. We can use retry, and the function will reset. Okay, that is all for today. Thank you for staying with me. Allah Hafiz. See you next time.